So The Chosen has been working on a lot of things behind the scenes, and they still have a lot of secrets, I can guarantee you. But one of the things that they just announced on 5 and 2 Day is a new show kind of led by George Xanthus, who plays John, called Unearthed, or The Chosen Unearthed. And the idea here is that you take actors in the show that play different people, like apostles or whoever else, and you unearth more of their character and how they think about their character, how they get into that character overall. This is a really interesting show for me because many of the cast are not Christian. They don't have any faith whatsoever. And so sometimes for me, this can fall flat because they just do not understand who the character is. Even though they're actors, even though they look into who these characters are, a lot of times they miss the mark on like what this character is supposed to be or who they are or how they're supposed to act, right? In terms of their own sort of understanding of who this person is historically. And so for this first episode, I think they actually did a pretty good job, even though I was kind of worried about it. But Big James, of course, A Bueno Jalad, has been here for the majority of The Chosen since season 2 of The Chosen. He's played Big James. And this character, we don't know much about scripturally. And so it's an interesting character to jump into for this specific type of video. But let's jump into this. I'm going to react to this episode, and then of course we'll break it down as we go through. So let's jump in. Let me know in the comments, by the way, who do you want to see on this show? I think a lot of people are probably going to say Jonathan to kind of get a deeper understanding of how he thinks about playing Jesus. But I think there are some others that are quite interesting as well. Obviously, like Noah, or I would actually like to have Demetrius. I think that's a really interesting biblical character when it comes to Lazarus. Demetrius Troy, who plays Lazarus, I think would be very, very interesting. But the whole idea here is that you're diving deep into the actor's understanding of who these characters are. And of course, it's kind of like a half interview show, half voiceover, sort of like more broad vision take, right? And I wonder if the voiceover sections of this are actually written by the actors, or if it's written by someone else and they're just speaking it out. I would have that question for sure.
Welcome to The Chosen Unearthed, where we ask actors about the history behind their characters and how it's helped shape their portrayal on screen. Today, I'm joined by Abe Bueno Jalad, who plays Big James.
Hey.
Abe, how's it going?
What's up, man? Good to see you.
Well, there are kind of two areas that we can kind of chat about this, because you and I have talked about this a lot, right?
Yeah,
we love history. We're history buffs.
100%.
We have always talked about how we use historical research for how we approach James and John. But you can look at scripture, which is pretty much exclusively where the show kind of points to. But you've also got traditions beyond scripture. First thing I wanted to ask you was, are there things from scripture that help you personally build the character of James?
I think, like many of the fans, something a lot of people experience when they watch the show is that there's like a fog around what you've heard about this story. And
well, there's just not a lot of information, right? Like for all the apostles, some of them we don't hear them speak at all, right, in scripture. So like there are just certain times when they're named, and literally that's all that we get. So outside of tradition and outside of sort of like this faith tradition that's been passed down, or some theories that people have, there is no concrete evidence for specific things that have happened with them outside of scripture, right? So it's a hard thing to think about, especially with like Big James is an easier one, which I think is super smart that they started with Big James, not only because Abe, I think, has a better handle on the faith aspect of things and also his personal connection to things here, but also Big James has a defined beginning of his ministry and an end of his ministry in scripture, because he's the only one that we really know exactly how he dies from scripture. So it's quite clear there exactly what's going on. He's the first martyr, right? The first martyr of the apostles themselves. So it's a great choice to start with him, because it makes a lot of sense there.
And I think that I was very much in that category, never having read completely through any of the synoptic gospels until I came to the show.
And it's interesting because on the show, they've kind of made a creative decision to make James and John very well read.
Yeah, and I think that the text supports it. I mean, you can see.
Yeah, 100% it supports it because all Jewish boys at the time would have gone to Torah school, then they would have gone to Beit Midrash, or they would have gone to work in their family business. So you either continue the schooling and you continue to learn and learn and learn, go through Beit Midrash, and then you become a student of a rabbi, or you go work in your family. You're going to work with your family business at some point within that. You drop out because you realize, oh, I'm not good enough to go this far. I can't get a rabbi. But I think pretty much all Jewish boys during this time would have had a pretty solid connection to literacy, right? Because they would have been in school. Remember, the Jewish people are literally called the people of the book. And there's a reason for that, right? It's not just a flippant saying. They are the people of the book because the book is what their whole entire lives are centered around. The Tanakh and the Torah. It's like that is what their entire life is centered around.
That they're obviously aware of Elijah references, and they're kind of using that to hone in on what this new message that Jesus is imparting on them might mean.
Mark 3:17 kind of names all the disciples.
It's interesting here. I think this is an AI image. Obviously, it's just like a graphic. It could not be. It just seems like it to me, which I'm fine with. It's just interesting to see that. I don't think we've really seen it too much within the chosen space. But I love that they're using as much scripture as they are in this show, which is really, really cool to me.
And then this word, Buanojes, means sons of thunder. You know, for me personally, seeing sons of thunder was like number one for John. It's like, I mean, I would have assumed the same for James, but it's just kind of like zealous and impetuous.
We got sons of thunder. That's something that we can definitely just say, cool, that's in there. And then the creativity comes in. What is thunder to me? Mm-hmm. Why would someone be called a son of thunder at this point? Are we boisterous? Are we loud? Mm-hmm. Do we come in with a bang? But then how does one take a descriptor and turn it into behavior, right? And so I always like to think of like sharpness, directness, which I think you see that hand over fist in season 2 when we're kind of getting our name.
You filthy dogs! I said quiet.
Yeah, the difference between season 2 and now, there is still a lot of immaturity. And listen, the boys have a long way to go. Not just James and John, but all of the apostles. All of them are still very immature. I mean, look at Peter. We just looked at a season 6 scene that they showed during 5 and 2 Day, right? Look at Peter in that scene, right? He's just attacked an official that came to arrest Jesus. He's now chasing after Jesus when he was told not to. Like, there are a lot of things there that clearly are still immature within Peter. He has not arrived, right? And even in the book of Acts, Peter is still immature. There are still a lot of things that he deals with because he doesn't know how to navigate the world, right? He's not a perfect person. And so he messes up a lot, we see in scripture. And so all of the rest of them are probably very similar. They're all probably working in that same understanding of like, man, I'm just a dude. And a lot of these guys basically were kids, right? So we're seeing a lot of maturity that happens throughout the series, but there's a lot more to go after this as well.
The first scene we shoot.
Right. That was our first scene, wasn't it? Yeah. And you see us sort of trying to take the lead. And that was just, you know, it feels so long ago now, but it really helps solidify, okay, large and in charge. That's what we want to be right now. That they wanted to call down fire like Elijah.
Let us do something.
What would that achieve?
Defending your honor.
That's specifically Luke 9:54 and 55, them asking to rain fire down on the Samaritans. But then what I really love is that in 55, it says Jesus rebukes them. In others, he says, I want to be saving people. And you don't understand what you're saying. It's like another time he says that to them.
Right.
So it's also like, for me personally, I kind of got this like zealous, overachieving student that's just been told like,
Calm down.
by the teacher. Because all we know.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a piece of it for sure. It's impossible to interpret it perfectly, right? We don't know exactly how their personalities were. but clearly they were sons of thunder in the sense of like, yeah, they were loud and they were zealous and they were like they're saying impetuous. They were very much like this these brothers that were powerful but set in the wrong direction.
About James beyond the resurrection is Acts 12:1. He's been killed by Herod. Right. So he's officially the first disciple martyred. He's a close disciple to Jesus, one of those inner circle 3, so we have to assume he's a leader of some sort. So he is leading the way in that sense.
My actor brain wants to believe that it's not purely coincidence, that there is some idea.
Nothing is coincidence. Like literally nothing in scripture is coincidence. It doesn't just happen because, it just happened to happen that way. God has ordered everything very specifically, down to the numbers that appear in scripture, down to the people that are parts of certain groups, right? Down to the 3 that are closest to Jesus, down to the fact that Big James is the first martyr of the apostles and John is the last. Why is that? Because they asked to sit on the left and right of Jesus in his kingdom, right? What does the left and right of Jesus look like? Why does he say, you do not know what you're asking for? Can you drink the cup of which I am to drink? Can you be baptized with the baptism of which I am baptized? Well, what does that look like? It looks like you dying as the first and last apostles, right? And so, yeah, it's a powerful thing there to think about because it's not to be taken flippantly as for them it kind of was during that time for Salome, their mother, as well as them asking to sit on his left and right. It meant more than what they thought it meant, and so Big James being the first and John being the last to die, I don't think that's at all a coincidence at all.
Of going first. I don't think it is coincidence that he is the first to be martyred. That's like a pillar right there. From the synoptic gospels, you can get at least that. What can I mine from other historical contexts? And then there's this like tradition within Spain of him having followers that took his body from Jerusalem and then took it to Spain to...
Yeah, so these are traditions here, not in scripture, because we don't know what happened to his body in scripture, but from the traditions, here's where they kind of went.
To Santiago de Compostela. Now, so here is where it has a crossroads with me. In Albuquerque, New Mexico, one of my first jobs was to teach Castilian Spanish. Right? It's sort of this cultural preservation from New Mexico, which still reps very much its ties to Spain, from flamenco all the way to cuisine, to even the type of Spanish that you can still find today in northern
to Breaking Bad, all of it's just connected.
New Mexico. And it is traceable historically, linguistically. It all checks out, right? And so we have this course that I'm teaching, and it was one of the chapters that we cover is the Camino de Santiago. So when I heard, oh, you're Big James, it did not click because I also have a very Spanish context, much like you. We're raised in a Greek tradition.
John has links to Greece as well. Exactly. James has links to Spain, and there's a lot of,
Coincidence?
Yeah.
I think not.
Yeah.
So we get into it, and it's just like, oh, Abe has this context of the way that I was brought up in my culture and the way that faith was disseminated through the Mexican culture, a Spanish-speaking culture. And all of a sudden, it clicks to me that I am playing Big James, who is Santiago, and just 4 or 5 years before that, I was teaching a course about the way of St. James or Santiago de El Camino. Then I start looking up the way, I start looking up what it means, and I start looking up Santiago de Compostela. If you break down the etymology, you take it all the way back to Latin, it means a field of stars. And so you're like, wait, what is this field of stars? And some people is like, oh, it might have been the sign to go back home, that James might have received some sort of sign there that let him know.
This is the kind of stuff that's like, I kind of like wave it off. Like it's just like, for me, like all the extracurricular non-scriptural stuff of the apostles and like the traditions that are there and stuff. I'm just kind of like, nah, like who's to say, right? Because it's not in scripture. It's not, there aren't like evidentiary, like this is exactly what happened, right? They're kind of like, we think this happened. This could be the case. This is a theory that we have. So for me personally, a lot of that I kind of wave off. I know a lot of you definitely hold to a lot of that stuff. I personally do not.
Know that he needed to go back home, right? So now we're getting, like I said, really outside of scripture here. But you get into, wow, so what was the experience of the apostles once Jesus left? It was just cool to really uncover that for myself and feel that confidence of like, I've gone so deep that something was revealed here for me. All of a sudden, it's just that confidence to say, I have done it. I have gone as far as I can in my skill set. The rest is here in the script in front of me. And when we smash these things together, hopefully we will have something. And in our case, something that really touches the lives of people.
It's just about connection to the character. Me finding out about John writing in Greek, and there were so many connections, and they've written it into the show. Dallas mentioned the first time he did it was because it was a bit of a nod to George being Greek. But just having that knowledge, it just brings you closer. And so you just have a more truthful connection to the character, which makes you more truthful on screen.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that might be the same thing with you. Having this Spanish connection to James, it makes you go, oh, this is my boy.
Yeah.
I mean, any connection that you can have with the material is going to make it better in any medium, right? But I think in a Christian context, having a deeper connection with the Christianity of everything, I think is the most important thing, which is why we're seeing people like John Irwin and Dallas Jenkins and Paul Sirstad, like these guys, and Mitch Hudson, these guys are actual Christians who actually understand what Christianity is and how to present that to the world, right? Which is why The Chosen and all these other shows that are coming out now have kind of formed, this golden age of Christian media, of biblical media that is coming out right now. It's crazy to see, but it comes from that heart knowledge of what Christianity is and who Jesus is that allows it to be better, right? So in the same circumstance here, because George has a connection to Greece and the connections there with John, and then Abe has a connection with the Spanish nature of possibly where Big James could have been connected to, right? That helps him to connect to the character in a way that is a lot better than if you just walked into a role, right? Which I think the majority of chosen actors actually get that deeper connection. Maybe not all of them, but definitely a good portion, which is good.
Absolutely. And it personalizes that I had an experience where I did enough research and something uncovered for me. We understand that Jesus's gospel ministry was a traveling one, right? And so we see in the Gospels that they're not going to be in the same place. They're not going to sleep in their same beds. So I decided to put myself under those circumstances in the way that modernity allows me to, which is to get out in the wilderness. And that inadvertently ties into this idea of going out in Acts, right? We're going out into the world. And more importantly, it really allowed me to get into this place of inner silence by simply putting myself under these circumstances of living in temporary shelters, whether it was in the deserts of White Sands near where I grew up, or the Gila National Forest, Apache Sitgreaves on the way down from Utah.
Yeah, if you follow Abe on Instagram or online, you always are seeing him kind of in these wilderness areas. He really loves to be in the wilderness, which is a cool thing. So you can see a lot of what he's talking about here online if you follow him. He'll post about it all the time.
Going through some pretty treacherous passes and camping out the night in between Colorado and Utah. I've really gone out there in the wilderness, and I've gotten to experience what it means to just be in communion with this great gift, which is the earth, and what it does to settle one's inner dialogue. So I think it kind of brought this groundedness to my performance of speaking from this place of clarity.
Kind of comes full circle because we were talking about finding out James because of his name being someone that's a pillar.
Yeah.
And then we find thunder, which kind of gives you that noise. And then we come all the way back as you've researched beyond scripture, found this connection with Spain, and as James the journeyman, as James this wanderer, you're back to, oh, I found that silence again. Now he's the pillar again.
It's so funny. Without realizing how many connections there were to Elijah, what is the one thing that I told you? It's like Elijah when he goes out and he's, searching for God in all of these places.
Yes.
And it's really this beautiful moment of silence that he achieves when he goes out to his mountain.
Yes.
And that is when he's connected. It made all of this come to life in such a tangible way for me. What James made me understand, from being a pillar to being a protector to being impetuous to understanding that our greatest strengths sometimes are our greatest faults, all the way to being in silence and really receiving something that you can't quite hear with your ears, but letting that fog clear out and bringing it full circle to that internal dialogue that ideally we all have with the Creator.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think overall this is going to be an interesting series. I wonder how it'll go with the future of the people that they have on here. I think they've announced like 4 episodes or something like that, but we'll see how it goes to the future of who else is going to be on here. Is it all going to be apostles? Are we going to see like a Caiaphas? Are we going to see like an Atticus, right? Kind of deep diving into those characters. My guess would be that they're going to stick to like real characters, so not an Atticus. My guess would be that they're going to jump into most likely all the apostles, but we'll have to see. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Are you excited about this Unearthed series? At least it's more content, right, to look at and to dissect and to think about. It is quite interesting in that way. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.